This meeting is being recorded.
All right, we're continuing with Sri Nissargadatta's I Am That. Let's see, I like this word I picked. All right. We are on chapter 31, Do Not Undervalue Attention. And it's interesting that when we left off last week, the questioner was kind of trying to insist that somehow Sri Nissargadatta was different from him. And you know, he tells them, you are the light of the world and not everybody is. And Maharaj says, there is absolutely no difference between me and others, except in my knowing myself as I am. I am all. I know it for certain, and you do not. So that's the only difference. It's not in the material, not in the arrangement. It's just in the knowing the self as the self, which is, again, what we talk about. Knowing the self is what happens when the mind goes silent, when external things stop defining you, when external things stop telling you what you are. In that silence, you know intuitively what you are, because after all, it is what you are. So he says, well, you're a point of the light, in the world. Not everybody is. Well, there's absolutely no difference between me and others except for this knowing. And then the questioner insists, no, we differ all the same. Whatever you say, we're different. And he says, no, we do not. Right? So he's making an adamant point here. And, the mind here really wants to kind of draw an allusion to modern day material that we run into. And this is the idea that a lot of devotees have, that swamis are different. It's like they insist on that. Like I make a big point of being a dude, really letting folks know I don't have everything on the ball in my life. I haven't figured all of this stuff out. I'm just throwing my life into it, and just going with some zest and having a great time, really enjoying. I couldn't say that in the first few years. The first few years I was slogging a lot of coal up the hill, but after 25 years, it's just blossomed into just a beauty I can hardly live with anymore. It's amazing. But between all of us, we have the same task before us, the same infinite potential in us, the same divine grace carrying us. We have the same divine love forgiving us and granting us mercy. We have the same guru. We don't have different gurus. We all have the same guru, and that one guru is looking through many faces at us. So we are absolutely we have the same materials. We can go forward. It's just a matter of attachments, right? Just a matter of attachments and holding on to things that aren't real, believing the dream to be real and holding on to dream objects like they're going to give us something. But dream objects aren't what they appear. Dream objects are just made of dream stuff, and they disappear at the end of the dream as if they never were. And that's the world we're in. So Maharaj says, no, we do not differ at all. The difference is only in the mind, and it's temporary. I was like you, and you will be like me. Right? So we are all moving in that direction. Another point of celebration. And something, this is the one way I've borrowed a lot of bliss from Mother, is just by accepting the fact that even if I don't experience my freedom, I'm free. Even if I don't know of my purity in grace, I'm going to sit in the grace. I'm going to enjoy the grace. So I'm borrowing. I figure since this life is so short and my eternal life is, well, in some terms, a long time, I'm going to borrow from that time of enlightenment and enjoy that enlightenment ahead of time. Borrow on my pension fund, as it were. And the delight of it is Mother allows that. And Mother encourages that. That's the point of grace. That's why bhakti yoga is the fastest and most effective path in this age, because you can't maintain, or you don't have to maintain, and this is from Thakur's own words, you don't have to maintain the same pristine purity that Jnana Yoga requires. Because of the love grace relationship with the divine, you can get your mind to let go of things through grace. You can stop believing that you're a horrible person through grace. You can stop believing that you're bound through grace. In Jnana Yoga, you kind of really have to undo all of that stuff on your own, because your mind won't let go, and you don't have that same love relationship with the universe that allows you to get the mind to let go, even though it's not quite ready to let go. That love is very powerful. That sense of grace is very strong and absolute. And so we can borrow from that idea of grace. It's called faith, actually. I call it borrowing from your pension, but faith is borrowing from your pension. It's knowing something, or insisting on knowing something, even though it can't be proven. And we've talked about that before. So the questioner says, well, God made a most diversified world. He's really driving this point, because all of us see difference, do we not? I mean, no matter how much I tell people I'm just a dude, everybody's like, yeah, but you're Swami dude. You're not just a dude. It's just, no, things are different. Things are different. Things are different. We're insisting on it. Why? Well, I don't know. I would probably be mean of me to say that it's an excuse, right? If we put certain people up on pedestals, then we can say that we're not responsible to that. If we worship somebody and place them up on that pedestal, then we're different from them. They're special. They're great. They're whatever. And little old me, what can I do? My karma. So we have to let go of that kind of thinking. We are all in one boat. We're all going forward. Fortunately, our boat is Thakur, and he says that we're going to get there pretty quick. So God made a most diversified world. Maharaj says, the diversity is in you only. See yourself as you are, and you will see the world as it is. A single block of reality, indivisible, indescribable. Your own creative power projects upon it a picture, and all your questions refer to the picture. Right? So you're asking all of your questions from inside the dream, because you're listening to the mind that contains the dream. But the diversity is in you. If you see difference, if you're blind, you don't see different colors. If you're well, anyway, you get the idea. We project the diversity from within. We make ourselves different from everything around us, and thereby we interpret that as meaning everything around us is different from us. But we are the ones that have set with ego. We've built a fence made of egoism around our little territory within which we are different and special. So this diversity is only in you. See yourself as you are, and you will see the world as it is. Right? And what is the world really? It's a single block. It's a singularity of reality. It's indivisible and it's indescribable. And I love this indescribable part, because this is why you can't do this with the mind. It's why you can't know things as they are with the mind, because the mind has shards of information in it. And those shards of information are barely all connected with relative ideology. And you can't reconstruct the unity that way. You can't reconstruct the singularity in the mind. And that's why we need silent mind to realize who we are. We need the mind to shut up so that we're not attached to its words. We're not attached to its ideas. We're not attached to its stories. We have to let go of all of that. We are not a gender. We are not an age. We are not a nationality. We are the indivisible, ever-free self, immortal, unchanging, blissful, beyond words, all of that. And so your own creative power, just like every night, what is your creative power? It's your ability to create dreams. You do it every night, and boy, do you do a fantastic job of it. Just remember some of your dreams, how vivid they were, how great the stories were, how intense the fear was, or how intense the freedom was, how beautiful the mountains were, whatever it is. You've got this marvelous creating power within. Why? Because thou art that. And you've got a marvelous sustaining power in you, and you've got a marvelous power of destruction in you. All three, because that's the nature of the manifested divine. And that's what you are, a manifested divine, or manifestation of the divine, we'll say. Questioner says, well, a Tibetan yogi wrote that God creates the world for a purpose and runs it according to a plan. The purpose is good and the plan is most wise. I'm very curious about what he's going to say here. Maharaj, all of this is temporary. While I am dealing with the eternal, gods and their universes come and go. Avatars follow each other in endless succession. And in the end, we are back at the source. I talk only of the timeless source of all the gods with all their universes, past, present, and future. That's, wow, that's a statement. That's incredible. So yes, if you want a God that has a purpose and a will and a plan, you can have it, and it's real within its context, within the dream. But you have to be in the dream, and you have to believe the dream is real, and you have to believe that you're not any of that in order for all of that to be true. And then you have to, on top of that, believe that things are imperfect because you've got a God that has a will, which means things aren't perfect as they are. He's got an idea of how things are going to get better. So you see, you have to believe and take all of that in if you're going to have a God that has a will and a story that he's unfolding and a purpose for you. But Maharaj is saying and has told us there's no purpose but to be. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to get. You know, you are in this reality. You're in the presence of the beloved, of the divine, as it is, and that there's no purpose but to know that and to manifest the principle, to manifest that divine love, manifest that divine wisdom that is you. He says, gods and their universes come and go. Well, you never hear anybody talk about God like that. I just, it's like God's just another passenger on the bus in this scenario. It's kind of like, really? But yeah, he's talking, geologic times, these massive amounts of times, these loka times. Gods and their universes come and go. Avatars follow each other in endless succession, and we see that's true. Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Chaitanya, Jesus, Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, these just in endless succession, and it's the same. There's avatars are only multiple when you're on the planet looking at them. When you're looking down on them, you see that they're all the same manifestation over and over and over again of the same one divine principle in its purest form. He says gods in the universes come and go, avatars follow each other in endless succession, and in the end we are back at the source, right? That's what we're coming to. That's realization. Coming back to the singularity, the one without a second, the unchanging perfection of isness, of love and wisdom in its isness. I talk only, so he's giving his perspective. I only talk of the timeless source of all the gods with all of their universes, past, present, and future, all of that in one. I'm talking about a point that's beyond the gods, that's beyond the manifestations, beyond time, space, causation. I'm talking about the very source of your being, the very source of your stories, the very source of your ideas. Questioner, do you know them all? Do you remember them? It's funny because this is how we ask questions. We forget answers to the previous questions because somebody who has just been told that they can't be fit in the mind, they can't be held by the mind. How are you going to remember them if these truths cannot fit into mind, if they cannot fit into time, space, causation? So the questioner is still not quite putting things together. Do you know them all? Do you remember them? Maharaj, when a few boys stage a play for fun, what is there to see and to remember? All right. When a couple of boys get together and put on a drama, what is there to see and to remember? Right? It's just a play. Yeah, you go and just watch the boys and give them your support, express your love for them, watch their play, which is very. I remember my I remember my parents sitting through my eighth grade play in middle school, and I could see on their faces how much work that was. And now, but I knew they were doing it because they loved and supported me. So he's saying the same thing here. This world, it's just mother putting on a play, having some fun. What is there to remember? What is there to see? Just enjoy mother putting on her play, a story of divine love, a story of divine wisdom. And you get to have a part, and just live. Remember, he told us 2 chapters ago, the point of life is to live. It's living, it's being, manifesting. Questioner, why is half of humanity male and the other half female?
What kind of question?
All right, now for a change of subject out of nowhere. Well, this is the diversity, actually. I can see where his mind picked that up. So he's been talking about the diversity. And so he says, if we're all the same and the diversity is in me only, then how come half the world is male and half the world is female? Maharaj, for their happiness. Right? You're a woman because it makes you happy. I'm a man because it makes me happy. I don't know. I don't know the alternative, so I don't know. I'm just kind of what it is, right? The impersonal, the avyakta, becomes the personal for the sake of happiness in relationship, right? That togetherness, that sharing, that caring, that, that idea that women are different from men. Women are from Mars, men are from Venus, or opposite on how that goes. But the difference, mother just made us just different enough to, well, she put 2 prongs in there. One, we annoy each other endlessly. And the other, we can't live without each other. So that's how you make a good play. And that's what she's done. She's broken us. She's taken the singularity and said, okay, you're going to look and act like that. You're going to look and act like that. Go. And it worked. We've been going on like crazy for centuries. All right. For their happiness, the impersonal becomes the personal for the sake of happiness in relationship. By the grace of my guru, I can look with equal eye on the impersonal as well as the personal. Both are one to me. In life, the personal merges in the impersonal. Right? This is from the bhakti perspective. This is seeing the beloved in everyone. You see that unity everywhere. You look at someone when you touch that space inside, that space of pure bliss. I like to tell people that there's a live wire in you that carries a 220-volt current of pure love, and it's got a little cut in the insulation. And sometime in your meditation, you'll accidentally touch it. I guarantee it. I think I've talked to a lot of different people, and Mother likes this game. She'll give it to you, but in a one big shocking volt, and then you're left looking for that for a good 10 years, but it's there within you. So this ability to, once you see that, once you know that there is this current of electricity that enlivens all the rest, and that current of electricity, as it were, is you. Once you come to know that, once you've seen that by discernment and doing your inward practice, then you look at everyone else with the same knowledge. You know that within them is that same electricity, the exact same that's in you, right? And so you can look at a whole rack full of different little motorized stuffed animals. And if wow, they've all got the same engine, they've all got the same battery. It's just the fluff that's different, just the externals, the decoration that is different. So when you come to know yourself, as being Satchitananda, that that's the whole of what you are, then you naturally see that in everyone else, right? Because we don't know anything of anyone else. We're always projecting. And what are we projecting? What we think we are. We project what we think we are on each other. And we come up with conventions and rules to sort of make sure that that all stays in place. You know, that's why these culture wars are going on, right? Because some people are like, no, 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 no. If you change the rules like that, I won't get it. By the grace of my guru, I can look with equal eye on the impersonal as well as the personal. Both of the one are one to me. In life, the personal merges in the impersonal, right? That's with detachment, things become impersonal, as it were. But in bhakti, it's love that ties it all together. It's love that through love that we touch that unity, that one without a second. Questioner, well, how does the personal emerge from the impersonal? And Maharaj says, well, that the two are but aspects of the one reality, right? It's just they're aspects of the one. The one doesn't actually become anything. One just expresses. The two of them are there. Both Shakti and Shiva are there. The absolute unchanging and the world of constant unrepeating change. They exist simultaneously, eternally. But there's Brahman, which is the container of both, right? That brings them to a unity. That change the changing world can become a pure potential, you know, and when it's in its pure potential state, it's the same as the unchanging absolute. It is not correct to talk of one preceding the other because they exist simultaneous. All these ideas belong to the waking state, right? Interesting. Waking state, really what he's saying is the dream state, because for the enlightened soul, the awakened state is a dream state. And what brings in the waking state? At the root of all creation lies desire. You create all of this for desire, right? It's you make this wheel roll just by desire. And what is the cause of desire? Just wrong thinking, incomplete thinking, lazy thinking. You know, I've lived 2 years now in this little room, and I could turn the camera on and kind of show it around the room. All my free spaces, all my free space is used. And I realized that my mind was never going to be done with collecting stuff that would be nice to have. Right? The mind is always creating desires, always thinking, oh, well, what if? Oh, wouldn't that be cool? Oh, wouldn't that be interesting? Oh, look, you need to get one of those. No, I think you need 2 of those. And it never stops. It never, ever stops. You know, I got this wonderful chair because I thought I need at least one chair in my room, which I still think I did the right thing getting a chair for my room. But my mind didn't stop there. You know, then my mind was like, oh, it's such a nice chair, but you need a table. Clearly, you need a table to put next to your chair. How can you not have a table next to your chair? Right? I didn't get that, actually. I just started using the footstool as a table next to my chair. And then my mind was like, oh, well, certainly a reading lamp. Certainly you should go get a reading lamp. What a nice one that arcs up and over, you know, with that nice modern round globe on it. That's what you definitely need to go get one of those. You know, I didn't get that. I didn't get the table. I started saying no, but the mind doesn't stop suggesting. The mind is always suggesting, you know, the mind is telling me, oh, you should get a Murphy bed. Oh, you have so much more room if you get a Murphy bed. And oh, that wall should be a different color over there. And actually, you should have put your chair over in that corner. You know, that's one room. It's one room. And look at the nonsense this mind comes up with, this constant sense of generating desire. Once we know that that is just the mind, that's what it does. You can just put the toddler out there to play, and you can be the mama. You can return to the mama, which is the self, and watch the toddler play. You don't have to go get the toddler everything it asks for. In 10 minutes, it's going to forget what it wanted and it's going to want something different. Isn't that the nature of mind? Right? And so that's why we want to find that place in the heart, the shrine of the heart, where we can stand aside and watch the play, watch mothers play here, watch it all go on. And we understand the root of all of this creation lies in desire, and desire is generated solely by body mind, right? All of our desires. This is why it's so exciting to go inward into that inner world and begin poking around, begin watching very closely what's happening in here. What's going on in this world of personality inside? And you begin to watch and you begin to understand, and you identify body, you identify mind, you withdraw from it into the shrine, and you learn to watch them and to be entertained by them. They're like Laurel and Hardy, the body mind working together, just telling one joke after another, one odd situation after another, one weird way of thinking after another, just an endless cycle. And the soul just watches, just observes. It's been doing it. You have been doing this for thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
What a mess you've gotten me into.
Yeah. Yes, well, but only if you step in. If you watch, you're not in it. You're not affected by it. It's all right. Let it go on. It's great. Enjoy it when you want to enjoy it, and withdraw from it when you want to withdraw from it. That's why Vivekananda says the ideal is that our sense of attachment, our powers of attachment, match our powers of detachment, right? So we can step in like Thakur did. He could step in and weep with the best of them, and he could step out and laugh at that weeping, with equal freedom. So that's what we're trying to develop in that. So he says all the root of this creation lies in that desire, and that desire is all emanating from the body mind. Why? Because the body and mind can't contain the whole. So they're always out of balance. And that lack of balance is what is creation, is what creates. That lack of balance is what is what gives birth to desire. Desires are just ideas of what will bring about balance, what will make things blissful. We're trying to experience our real nature in the finite world of the body mind. It can't be done. So that's where all this desire is arising from all the time. He says desire and imagination foster and reinforce each other, right? That desire arises for that wonderful lamp coming up and over my chair. And then I sit there and imagine it. Wouldn't that be nice? I could just reach up and turn it on, and the light would be even, and I could read. I'd probably study so much more. And right? So desire and imagination foster and reinforce each other. And this is why we have to learn to withdraw from mind, so that we can control it. Right? If you are the mind, it's very hard to control the mind that way. You can't calm the swimming pool by jumping in it. You have to get out of it. So you become the observer and watch the mind. The fourth state, Turiya, is a state of pure witnessing. That's the natural state, really. Just watching. Pure witnessing, detached awareness. So you see everything, but you realize nothing has anything to do with you, or that all of it is you. There's two routes of taking a look at it. Initially, we're like, nope, has nothing to do with me. And that way we can sit in that silence. But the final realization is that it was all you. You are the balance that you're seeking. So a detached awareness, passionless and wordless. Wordless, why? Because we're talking about our nature, our true self, which can't be fit into time-space causation. There is no past, present, and future. There's only now. There's only isness. And without the story, which is the wordless part that he's mentioning here, without that, there's just what you are. And that can't be said. It is like space, unaffected by whatever it contains. Right? If you're dreaming and you know that it's a dream, if you're having a lucid dream, the dream doesn't affect you. What can make you afraid in a dream? Because you know it's happening in a sandbox. It can't touch you. Right? It's like space, unaffected by whatever it contains. Bodily and mental troubles do not reach it. I can't even reach it. That gulf between the self and the body-mind Nothing can cross that. Nothing can cross that gulf. Nothing from the dream can make it to the real, right? Just like our situation. Nothing in your dream can break out of the dream and enter your waking state. It can't happen. There's an impenetrable barrier there. Or maybe it's just that the dream isn't real. So he's making the statement. So nothing from this waking state, nothing from this dream can enter the reality of the self. It can't be touched. It can't be bothered or affected by it. It's like space, unaffected by whatever it contains. Bodily and mental troubles do not reach it. They are outside, there, while the witness is always here. Right? So anything outside of the witness really is unreal, just being observed, and everything remains observed because it is unreal. So the questioner says, what is real, the subjective or the objective? I'm inclined to believe that the objective universe is the real one, and my subjective psyche is changeful and transient. You seem to claim reality for your inner, subjective states and deny all reality to the concrete, external world. Maharaj, both the subjective and the objective are changeful and transient. There is nothing real about them. Find the permanent in the fleeting, the one constant factor in every experience. There it is. Beautiful. There is nothing real about the subjective or objective world. What are you doing? He says, find the permanent in the fleeting, right? And this is one of the most wonderful things that I've started working on, started paying attention to. What is the fleeting? Everything that you experience, everything that's coming into you through the senses, all of that's fleeting, right? All of it's constantly changing. Now, how do you know that? Because you aren't. The observer isn't. The observer is watching the river flow. That's how it knows the river is flowing, is because it's not. If I was sitting there running at the same speed of the river, it wouldn't seem like the river was flowing. We would both be stationary. I would be identified with the river, as it were. But in reality, see, we are the first time. I think I've shared this. It was very simple. The first time that I actually stumbled on this, on how to make an experiment of this reality, of this truth, was taking a yoga class with Sushil. And we were sitting there. One of the first things he would always have us do is just sit there and do this. And, I don't know, we're doing like 200 times. And, after 50, you're pretty much ready to go up and have a sandwich. It's like, I'm done. And you still have to keep going, and the arm's starting to hurt. And I decided when I was doing that, to try to allow my arms to remind me of that part of me that's not moving. So instead of paying attention to the movement and feeling all that pain in my arms and feeling all that, knowing that, oh my God, I've still got 150 of these to do, instead of getting all worked up and all involved in the changing, I just changed tack. And I thought, okay, well, there's a part of me that's not moving. My rest of my body's not moving. Why not put my mind on the not moving and observe the moving instead of being in the process of the moving, instead of identifying with the movement? And just by doing that, this became effortless. Just by not getting into it, not becoming involved with it, not becoming attached to it, but letting its constant state of change remind me of the state of we'll call it a state for fun, the state of unchanging within me. And so this is a really big trick. This is a wonderful, wonderful key. And it's part of what Thakur teaches us about discernment. Allow the changing world to constantly remind you of the unchanging self within you. Let all change indicate the unchanging, right? Let all of the change indicate the unchanging in you, and just practice awareness of that. It's the awareness that is the magic key, because that's the beloved, the divine, right? But that awareness, to not forget that you are unchanging, that you are absolutely pure, free, and full of love, content, needing nothing. That's why you can't get anything here, because you need nothing. So let all the fleeting desires of the mind point at the desireless state behind them, within. So he says, find the permanent and the fleeting, the one constant factor in every experience. Right? It was very helpful for me also. One of the things I did like 2 days ago, I was sitting there thinking about the transition from waking to sleeping. And I was thinking, okay, there's an I in this body that lives, that is watching this world. And at night when I dream, that same I transfers into another body and watches another world dance. And so I started sitting there really trying to focus on what is the sameness that transfers from waking sleep to dreaming sleep and experiences both. What is the unchanging sense of me, the I, that can change bodies seamlessly, can change environments seamlessly, can enter the dreaming state from the waking state and reverse without being changed, without losing itself in either. That one, that you, that can seamlessly become anything, right? Seamlessly become anything and not even think about it, not even care about it, not even be concerned with it. That's the pure I. And the fact that it doesn't care about it, the fact that it can do it seamlessly without getting mixed up in either state is your evidence that you are pure at heart, that you're pure in your nature, because it doesn't get entangled. It can seamlessly, effortlessly slip from one reality, one body to another body, dumping the memories, dumping the experiences, dumping the relationships, dumping the stories, and just freely take a new one without any effort whatsoever. That is you. That is the self. That is your way of experiencing the self in the dream anyway. Oh goodness, these things. But yeah, so there is that real you in there. It isn't a story told by a crazy man at Dakshineshwar. This is real. This is what you are. This is isness, our being. What is the constant factor? My giving it various names and pointing it out in many ways won't help you much, right? Just giving it a name and pointing at it, that's not the deal, because if we're pointing at it, we still don't know that we are that. Unless you have the capacity to see. A dim-sighted man will not see the parrot on the branch of a tree, however much you may prompt him to look. At best, he will see your pointed finger. First, purify your vision. Learn to see instead of staring, and you will perceive the parrot. Also, you must be eager to see. You need both clarity and earnestness for self-knowledge. You need maturity of heart and mind, which comes through earnest application in daily life of whatever little you have to understand, of whatever you have understood. Very important point. Look at that. Well, we'll go through this whole thing, but that's really important right there. You need maturity of heart and mind, right? You need to grow up. You need maturity of heart and mind, which comes through earnest application in daily life of whatever little you have understood. Right? So whatever you get from going to the lecture at the temple, whatever you get from doing your puja, from sitting in your silence, from reading your scriptures, from talking to holy people, whatever you get, your daily life is about practicing those, testing those, experimenting with those. You know, constantly trying to get you all excited about creating experiments in your daily life for seeing these ethereal things we talk about, right? Just like that point of self, you know, to sit there and contemplate that self that goes from dream to waking and back and forth, untouched, effortlessly, freely, without any hindrance whatsoever. What is that, right? That is an experiment that's built into you that allows you to understand the nature of the self, right? And so you start looking at everything around you. Sit there washing the dishes and sit there and remind yourself, I'm not the doer. And you're like, well, then how am I doing the dishes? And so you sit there and you think about it. It's like, well, can I remove my sense of doership? Can I just watch myself do dishes? What if I don't think about it at all? What if I just observe myself or observe the body, mind, wash dishes? What happens then? And it's quite shocking what happens then. You realize you don't really have to be present. The body mind is washing dishes. The mind knows how to do it. The body knows how to make it happen. You know, it just goes. And you really can just watch the dishes being washed. And if you can realize that that's reality, that that's true, then you can expand on that. You know, when you're taking a walk, the idea that you are not moving.
You can drive a car for 1,000 miles and never know you were driving.
That's spooky, and it's true. I've had times where I was driving home from college and, you know, will have no recollection of like the last 3 hours or something, just no recollection at all of it. Yeah, exactly like that. Take these things, become aware of them, because one thing you must have seen by now in your life is that God, the Mother, the Father, is dropping these hints everywhere. And to the person who's just paying attention, who's just being aware in the moment, there's lessons galore. There's reminders galore that this is not you, that you are not the body, that you are not the doer, that you are not the mind, that you are not born, that you will not die. All of these things are self-evident if you train your awareness to see and not to hear story, not to perceive from story, but to perceive the story outside of itself. If you're in the story, then everything has a meaning according to story. Step outside the story into silence and let things mean what they mean, which is really nothing. They're just all plays of God, glittering for who knows what, because God is. Right? So at best, you see the pointed finger. That's the problem. When we make religion the point, you know, when we make religion the point, we're all getting fascinated with the finger that's pointing. Dogs do that. You know, you point with your finger, and the dog, at least the dogs I've experimented with, they don't go where you're pointing. They come up and lick your finger. You know, they come up and nudge your hand. They don't understand the idea of pointing. And so when we think that our philosophy, our thoughts, our religions, when we start thinking that those things are the point, we're like dogs becoming enamored of the finger pointing, and we're still not looking. We're still not going where the finger is pointing. And how do I know that? Because that's what the world is doing. The whole world is pointing at God. And we're in love with that finger like nobody's business. Right? But the whole world is pointing at God. That's why Vivekananda makes that statement. Stop seeking him. Stop licking the finger. Start seeing him. Look where I'm pointing. Don't look at my finger. You know, Vivekananda, he was so disappointed because he knew that we were all going to put his picture on the shrine and worship him. And he just shook his head. It's like, I know it's going to happen. What can I do? But that's not what I want to happen. What's this? I'm a finger pointing. Don't worship the pointing finger. Worship what the finger is pointing at. It's the same with all of the deities on your shrine. Don't get stuck with the fingers. Look through them at the transcendent reality beyond all of it. You know? If you want to sin, sin wholeheartedly and openly. You didn't hear it from me. Don't go tell your local Swami that Swami C is now telling you to go out and sin wholeheartedly and openly. Nissargadatta said it, but he's got a point. Let's keep going. Sins too have their lessons to teach the earnest sinner, right? And who is the earnest sinner? The earnest sinner is the one who takes his awareness, takes God, takes his beloved right into the heart of his sin with him. It's Girish Ghosh bringing that bottle right into the temple and sitting there with Ramakrishna, stone drunk. You know, he became a saint because of that. What made him a saint in that? The fact that he brought the presence where he was in his mind, brought the presence into his story, because the presence will make your story more and more difficult to believe as time goes on. And eventually you'll set it down. Eventually you'll be like, why am I doing this? This is humiliating. This hurts me. I feel horrible about this tomorrow. Why am I going this direction again? Right? If you've got awareness and you're willing to be aware and willing to look at the stupidity of what you're doing, you know, if you're, instead of just pushing that out of your mind and focusing on the pleasures and the joys of the moment, instead of that, don't push God away, bring God in, you know, like with Girish Ghosh, Thakur said, hold that glass of wine up, tell the mother what you like about it, have a conversation with mother. Don't push her out of the room and drink real quick until you're drunk and can't think about it anymore. Bring her in there, you know, take your bottle of wine. Don't get me in trouble with this, but I believe this stuff. Take your bottle of wine into the shrine, pour mother a glass, pour yourself a glass, sit there and tell her about it. I need to stop this wine. No, I do. I can't. I like it. What do I like about it? Look how it relaxes me. You know, look how what a nice ritual it is just to sit down at the end of the day and have my glass, you know. Share it with mother. Talk to mother about it. That's relationship. And as soon as you've established that presence more and more and more, you begin to realize that mother is better than that. You know, just the thought of mother brings you that bliss. Just the presence of mother brings you that joy, brings you that contentment. And in time you realize that. And in time you put the glasses away and you sit there and enjoy mother, right? Because you felt her accept you. You felt her tell you, it's okay. We're going to get through this. Don't worry. It's not a big deal. It seems like it right now. We're going to get there. And she'll sit there with you. And she'll keep bringing up the truth in your mind. And the more that you're aware, the more uncomfortable that becomes for you. The more difficult it is to expose the Divine Mother in all of her purity to that level of ignorance. And you become aware of that. And you change. You get inspired because mother was willing to come all the way down there and sit in the trash can with you until you figured out it was a trash can. And then she'll be the first one to step outside and help you take the step out of it. Come on, let's get out of here. And you'll go, but not without awareness. Not if you ignore her presence and push her away to make room for your vice. There's no growing in that. There's slavery in that. So bring mother all the way in and trust her to love you. Trust her to be there with you in the midst of your darkest places. She's the light that will bring you out, right? Don't let shame convince you have to go it alone. Shame is a cry to mother for her forgiveness, for her grace. Let her come and provide that grace. Let her come and provide that healing for you. You know, this is the way it does. We don't hide. And that's what he's saying. If you want to sin, be honest about it. Don't pretend you're holy. You know, don't do it in the dark and then come out beaming like I'm perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. Right? He says, if you want to sin, sin wholeheartedly and openly. Be honest about it. Understand your attachment. Understand that, yes, I want to do this. Right? And begin your discernment there. Because discernment will free you from the wanting to do it. Because you'll eventually get to see the nature of it. And you'll sort that out. And it will drop out of your hand, or you'll throw it, right? I remember a good friend of mine, he was a devotee for many, many years. And most of the years that I knew him, he was an alcoholic. And he came to the San Francisco Center. And but he was a lover of mother. Oh my God. His living room in his house was the shrine. He didn't turn his closet into the shrine. He turned his living room into the shrine. And this big giant poster of Mother on the wall, a big giant poster of Durga on the wall, a big giant poster of Kali on the wall. And he would offer everything. Whatever he brought in for groceries, he'd go and put it in the shrine, then put it away. And one day, he hadn't had a drink in a long while. I only realized because he wasn't talking about it anymore. And I asked him, I said, Gary, I can talk about him because he's passed on now. But I said, Gary, I said, I haven't heard you mention drinking. And he says, yeah, it is interesting. He says, about 8 years ago. And I was like, 8 years already? Are you kidding me? He says, no, I haven't had a drink in 8 years. I said, Gary, how's that? How did you do it? Because he didn't go to AA or anything. And he says, I don't know. He says, I don't know. He says, one day he used to have, literally, just to show you his drinking problem, he had his chair, and next to it, he had one of those 40-gallon gray trash bins that we put out for the retreats, and that thing was always heaped with bottles. And he said, one day I finished a beer and I tossed the bottle in that can. And he said, I tell you, it's the weirdest thing. He said, I just knew that was my last one. He said, there was no big deal around it at all. He said, I just knew. There was just a knowing inside. That was my last one. And he says, I have not had another drink since. And that's the benefit of awareness and the company of the Divine Mother, or your divine ideal. Bring that into everything. Mother will not let you continue to hurt yourself. She'll let you learn the lesson, and then she'll take the knife out of your hand. So hold on to that. If you want to sin wholeheartedly and open. Sins too have their lessons, but if you're not being aware, you can't learn the lessons. So even in that, bring God. God is that awareness. Sins too have their lessons to teach the earnest sinner. The earnest sinner is the one who insists on being aware as they walk into the dark, as they walk into their vices, into their desires. Okay, so sins too have their lessons to teach the earnest sinner as virtues, the earnest saint. It is the mixing up of the two that is so disastrous. Nothing can block you so effectively as compromise, for it shows lack of earnestness, without which nothing can be done. Right? Compromise. Oh, God. Oh, boy. That is the poison. That is the poison. What do you call that? The grand poison. Right? Because we live in a world and we look around, oh, everybody else is having a good time. It doesn't matter if I just do a little. At least I'm not as bad as that person is. Right? And that's what causes us to start finding fault. Right? Because we start trying to push our head above the water by pushing everybody else under the water. It's a real disaster, this compromise. Don't make allowance. If you're going to do it boldly until you see the nature of it, and you can have Mother destroy that desire. Don't pretend that desire is not there. Don't try and just squelch it, because it'll come out in some weird way, right? A spiritual hernia, that's what I call that. You get a spiritual hernia when you haven't actually discerned in order to produce renunciation. If you've just gone straight to the renunciation without the discernment, that desire is going to come out in some very bizarre way. It comes out as a spiritual hernia. It just pops out elsewhere. If you squeeze a balloon in your hand, if you just squeeze it, it just pops out between the fingers. Right? That's the nature of desire. You have to take it apart through discernment, with awareness in the presence of the beloved, and things will go as they need to go through faith and grace. But if you just try and push it away and deny what's going on, it gets weird. It gets uncomfortable. All right. So this compromise, be careful of compromise, because it shows a lack of earnestness. Right. And the pain that we feel when we read these things, I'm hoping that you're feeling the same discomfort I'm feeling. Because, I look at my life, when I read these things, I see it. And it's like, God, that's uncomfortable. And when we get uncomfortable, it's the first thing we want to do. We want to stop looking at it. We want to just throw a quick excuse in that direction, then get busy with something else right away. But when you feel this challenge, inside, when you're like, oh my God, there is some compromise there. Really, that's what he's saying, sit in that place wholeheartedly and openly. Let it hurt. Accept that pain, study that pain, and know where it's coming from, right? Know that it's your compromise that's causing it. Know that it's your infidelity with the Lord that's causing it, and feel that pain deeply, so that when the desire arises again, what you remember is the pain. You're like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to. No, thank you. No, that was dark. I don't want to do that again. Right? All right. We'll stop there for today.